Go ahead, Mr. Tom.
Well, good evening. Welcome to the Marlboro County School Board meeting, January the 8th, 2024. If you would, please, let's stand now for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Fowler, if you would, lead us in the invocation, please.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you once again for this day. We thank you for all the blessings in life. Thank you that you allowed us to see another year. That you'll continue to bless us and guide us and direct us in all the business we do for our school district. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I now call to order the meeting, this meeting. The media has been notified. I think we have the Marlboro Herald. They are here. Thank you for coming. And we'll now move to the approval of our agenda.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agenda.
A motion is on the floor to approve the agenda. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor that the agenda be approved as printed. Those in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Those opposed, the motion carries. We'll now move to public session, election of board officers.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to make a comment or two on that before we start that, if we could. It's been my experience, and I've been on the board for a good while, and I think Mr. Cushman also, that as we move forward each year, some of our board members, I think it would enhance them and make them better board members. You've done a great job as a vice chair. You've done a great job as a secretary, Mr. Flowers. But if we rotated a little bit of that so the other board members could get that experience and have them involved in it, I wonder if that would be beneficial to our board each year as we move forward. And I just want to throw that out there before the nominations started coming out, that we might want to, let other members be involved in it a little more than they are. And when that being said, I'd like to nominate Mr. McCray for vice chair.
Mr. Who?
We have a nomination of Mr. Lavender McCray from District 8 for vice chair.
I'll second.
And we have a second for that.
And, Mr. Chair, I'd not like to nominate Mr. Toms also for vice chair for that position.
Okay, we have Mr. Tom, myself, nominated for vice chair,
I'll second it.
and it's been second. Do we have any
Discussion.
Do we have
Discussion.
Okay. Since we don't have any other nomination, or do we have any other nomination before we go to discussion? Hearing none, we open now for discussion. Ms. Coachman, you had something?
Yeah, I wanted to hit on that note when we were talking about electing officers. The officers are, when we nominate officers, officers have to be able to, or should go to most of the training. Also should be available to go to the conferences and in the delegate assembly and be able to bring information back and with their leeway in the time and to do specific things. Usually most people that serve as officers, those are the things that we need, that we can bring things back to the district. Some people are in some certain positions that with their job that they can't go to that training and they can't go to those delegate assembly to list things. So we have to make sure that we have officers that are going to represent the county, that's going to bring the information back to us from the state, from the school board conferences, and from the delegate assemblies, that's going to be beneficial to us as a district. But you do have the two nominations. I just wanted to make that reason why when you choose officers should be able to represent the district, not just at the board meeting, but in other aspects of the job.
Okay, do we have any other discussion?
Mr. McCray, would you be able to do that? Go to the meetings and bring us back the information?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are you ready for the vote? We'll start with Mr. McCray. All those in favor of Mr. McCray being vice chair, let it be known by raising your right hand. All those that oppose, let it be known by raising their right hand. Okay. I counted 2 and 3 for that. Mr. Coachman, did you vote?
I did not vote on I'm abstaining from voting against anyone, but I did not vote in favor of that.
All right. We'll move on. All those in favor of Mr. Thomas being the vice chair, let it be known by raising your right hand. Okay. Forward. All those opposed? Okay. I count 4-1. I abstained, and Mr. Coachman also abstained from the vote.
I voted for that.
You voted for that? Okay. Well, the vote is 5-1, and the vote carries.
Okay.
Mr. Thomas will continue as vice chair for this upcoming year. Move now to, floor is now open for nomination for secretary.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to nominate Mr. Flowers as secretary.
Mr. Flowers.
I second that.
And it has been seconded. Mr. Flowers be nominated for secretary. Do we have any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Sweat.
Mr. Sweat has been nominated for secretary. Do we have a second to that nomination?
I'll second it, but I'm not sure some, doesn't seem, we don't seem to care to change, but go ahead, I'll second it.
Has been moved to second that Mr. Sweat be nominated for secretary. Any discussion?
I would like to say that I think that giving the new board members a chance to work with our board chair, who has had a number of years of experience, would enhance our board by having a new mindset to come in and hold an office, along with someone who has been here for a while.
Okay. Do we have any other discussion?
Yes. What I'd like to say is that, I mean, from my perspective, all of us have access to all of the training, as well as, the chairman and stuff. So, in other words, it's kind of like I guess you would call it an instant learning process. If you sit here and you observe as we go through this, then whenever and if ever you decide to, take the reins and lead, then you're prepared. So, like I said, I think that we need to just go with the experience, because right now it seems to be working real well.
Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move ahead with the vote. Those in favor of Mr. Flowers continuing as secretary, let it be known by raising your right hand. Okay, we have 6. Those opposed? 2. Okay, 6 is 2. Those in favor of Mr. Sweat, let it be known by raising your hand.
That can only be 2.
All right, and those opposed?
And once again, I like to make it perfectly plain to what I said. I was just looking for our different board members to get experience so they would be able to understand how the board operates maybe down the road a little bit. I have no problem with Mr. Toms or Mr. Flowers being our officers. I just thought it might be a good idea for other folks to have a little experience in it as we move forward for the next few years. Thank you.
Yeah, the vote
Mr. Vice Chair,
Yes, sir.
I just want to come on what Mr. Driggers said. Mr. Driggers, I do agree with you 100% on that. And in the future, I think everybody, now that we explained what we're looking for, we need for board members to do, if we could go in that direction, but having somebody in a place for 2 years in a row, I think that's in our policy, that after 2 years, we will make that change. I think we changed that in our policies to serve no more than 2 years. So that will give everybody all the opportunity this year to make sure that we go to the training and be ready for the office, for the election of officers this coming up year.
Which policy is that, Mr. Chair?
Board policies for election of officers.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, I'll go ahead and finish this out. Mr. Flowers will be the secretary for this year that we're in. But you also have to be aware, too, that Marlboro County and Horry County is one of two boards in the state of South Carolina that elect their chair, right? And they elect the other officers. All the other school boards in the county, they rotate what you all are talking about, Mr. Jiggers. They rotate and do that. But since we have an elected chair, ours don't necessarily go in that direction. All the other counties that don't have elected chairs at large, they even switch chairmen as they go along every 2 years or so. But we're not in that particular arena, not yet. And as for everyone who was nominated, we do appreciate you all nominating and have the confidence in your colleagues that you would rather have them to lead. We do appreciate that. And throughout the rest of this year, we would hope that those that are interested in further leadership on the board, like as Mr. Colchin stated, try to make yourself available to be able to do what's necessary, okay? We'll move on. Points of celebration, we'll have Character Education Student of the Month.
Good evening to Chairman Coachman, Dr. Till, and to board members. It gives me great pleasure to stand at this time and present the Character Student of the Month, exemplifying the word compassion for the middle school. And at this time, the citation reads, compassion is defined as a feeling of wanting to help someone who is sick, hungry, or in trouble. It also means sympathetic pity and concern for the sufferings or misfortunes of others. Johnny Brogle is an outstanding student and has the biggest heart. He is very attentive to the needs of others and is always willing to share and assist fellow classmates. John is careful to make sure students have their tools for learning and gladly gives his personal school supplies to others. This time I'd like to call Johnny Brogle from McCall Elementary Middle School. Additionally, I'm going to present for Mr. Lawrence Dees for Bennettsville Intermediate for the elementary Character Student of the Month, also exemplifying the word compassion. And the student is Ayman Khattab, and it reads, this month's character trait is compassion. Compassion can be defined as a sympathetic consciousness of others' distress together with the desire to alleviate it. One student in my classroom who demonstrates compassion for others is Ayman. This young man not only shows compassion for his own classmates, but he does above and beyond to extend his compassion to others around our school. Within our school, we house students who are known as exceptional children. These students tend to have to overcome obstacles that most kids never realize. Being the kind soul that he is, Ayman took it upon himself to partner up with an EC student who does not function well when in the presence of loud noises. As luck would have it, The young man was using the bathroom at the same time as Iman, and Iman noticed that the young man could not use the hand blower due to the excessive noise it created. Iman also noticed that the young man did not like that his hands were wet and wanted to dry them off. In showing his friend compassion, Iman went to the janitors and asked for paper towels so that the young man could dry his hands without the noise of the dryer. Iman is also known by his classmates as one of the most compassionate students in our room. He is the first kid to speak up to congratulate students on reaching success, and he is also the first kid to console a student who does not quite reach success on the first try. Iman makes it his mission to reach out to any and everyone who may need a soft shoulder to lean on. In closing, I want to leave you with a short quote. The Dalai Lama once said, "Love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive." As teachers of young people, we must remember to acknowledge the students who shine brightly in a sea of controversy. The kids, like Iman, who need not be taught to show compassion and kindness to others, as it automatically comes through in their character. We are so proud to have Iman Khattab be a part of our classroom. He is an awesome representation of the goodness we aspire to achieve. Again, for Bennettsville Intermediate School, Iman Khattab. Thank you.
Next, we'll have School Board Appreciation Month.
I'd first like to congratulate a couple of our board members for serving in our county for such a long period of time. To Mr. Danny Driggers, congratulations for achieving 10 years of school board service for Marlboro County School District. On behalf of the officers and staff of the South Carolina School Boards Association, thank you. You have played a critical role in guiding your district and have invested countless hours to improve public education. The South Carolina School Boards Association is happy to be a part of this recognition by providing a lapel pin for you to wear to school board meetings and school board meetings events. Once again, Mr. Driggers, congratulations. Thank you. In addition, Mr. Michael Coachman, congratulations on achieving 15 years of school board service for Marlboro County School District. On behalf of the officers and staff of the South Carolina School Boards Association, thank you. You have played a critical role in guiding your district and have invested countless hours to improve public education. The South Carolina Schools Board is happy to announce and for you to be a part of this recognition. And at this time, I just want to congratulate Mr. Michael Coachman for 15 years of service. And Mr. Coachman is with us, but I'm going to ask if Mr. Toms will come and receive this recognition on your behalf.
Thank you so much. Leave the check, bring the check, Mr. Tom.
Congratulations once again. And this is from the state of South Carolina. This is the governor's proclamation. Whereas education is the foundation upon which the economic, intellectual, and social capital of our state is built. And whereas school boards directly influence instruction in South Carolina's public schools, and whereas the decisions of local school boards affect the present and future lives of children while setting the direction to prepare all students to be competitive in a local, state, national, and global 21st century knowledge community and economy. Whereas local school board members work with parents, businesses, education professionals, and other community members to represent their views and create the ideal educational vision for their public schools and students. And whereas School Board Recognition Month highlights the unique role school boards play in representing their constituents by promoting and advocating for quality public education. Now, therefore, I, Henry McMaster, Governor of the great state of South Carolina, do hereby proclaim January 2024 as School Board Recognition Month throughout the state, throughout the state. And we encourage all South Carolinians to recognize the contributions of local school boards to the academic success of public school students across the Palmetto State. Signed, Henry McMaster, Governor, State of South Carolina. And so at this time, we just want to applaud our board for all they do for us all the time. And gifts for our board members, and we hope that you enjoy all of them. They're from the district and from the school level. And when you look at the one for the district, there's a note in there I'd like for you to read. Okay. Again, we want to thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Wow, that's heavy. Might be a full bag. I wasn't prepared for that. It was a little heavier. Oh, yeah. I hope you got the right size.
We're going to get those. Yeah, we're going to get those.
I've actually got a number somebody that came up with the lids. We used to that.
Oh, that's good. That's good stuff. And for school board members will be available to help you to your cars.
Okay.
When you take all of your gifts, we're so happy to have you all.
Thank you so very much. I see next we have the Collaborative County Planning meeting.
Yes, I wanted to share with the board, we've looked at a couple of dates to hold that meeting, and I put together a letter, if I can find it here, a letter that we want to actually share. There you go. Okay. So we're proposing that maybe on the 22nd of this month or the 12th of next month, that we would host a meeting with county council and the county administrator, the city administrator, and the city council. And the purpose of this meeting would be for us to talk about those needs of our county. I'm sure that we have some needs that are in common, and And then to talk about how do we move forward as a district and as a county and city. We know that the collective wisdom is always good. So we have put this letter together, and I wanted our board members to decide on a date that would work well for you, and we've asked them to do the same. But I would like for you to listen to the letter to make sure that this is addressing what you wanted to have addressed. Dear elected officials, we, the Superintendent and Board of Education, cordially invite you and your council members for a collaborative meeting. The purpose is to discuss the shared needs within our county, identify focal points for the upcoming year, and explore commonalities that can lead to unified efforts. This meeting aims to bring together the collective wisdom of our representative entities, fostering an open dialogue that enables us to present a united front when addressing our county's needs. By aligning our priorities and speaking with one voice, we can effectively engage with our local legislative delegation to advocate for the betterment of our community. Please let us know which dates work best for you and for your organization. And again, that's the 22nd of this month and the 12th of February. The time would be from 5:30 to 7, and it would be here in the Media Center.
Will this include all of the mayors, like in McCall, Blenheim, Clyde? Are we going to invite them also?
I can if it's the pleasure of the board.
I definitely would like our mayor
Yeah,
and city council, same way with Glenn.
Okay?
Yeah, I think
We
that would
will.
be, that would be a good token, yeah.
Okay.
One more quick question. How about our economic development?
Yes, yes.
We need to invite him.
Okay. Mr., you mean the county administrator?
The economic
the entire
development
board.
gentleman is he's just been hired, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Right, they do have a new economic development director.
Oh, a
Director.
director.
He's the director
Okay.
of economic development. And I think this meeting's kind of, I see Mr. Coachman got his hand up. Go ahead, Mr. Coachman.
Yeah, just want to make sure that everybody knows that includes our local legislators, Mr. Hennigan and Mr.
Malloy, Senator Malloy.
Malloy, that they be contacted also and to concur with those dates, so that way we will have everybody to the
Right.
table. I think it'd be a wonderful thing.
It's a broad range, but the more that we can get involved, I think the better we will be as far as making decisions to move their education as well as our economic growth forward.
Can I add
Oh, yeah.
also, Marlboro Electric has a development team, a Marlboro development team. I don't know if you might want to include them. They also help bring economy into the county as well. That's something to consider.
You know, when we went to our, when we had the meeting in Marion County, Ms. Coachman, myself, and Mr. Flowers went down, and that was part of when we came back, when you all appointed me as your board legislative contact. That was a meeting that other counties are doing, and we just thought we would bring it back because as a board legislative contact, ideas and things that we come up with and things that we're going to support, we have to come together and collaborate. And I do understand broaden it out to a lot of other entities, because we do have community people, but the elected officials, first of all, the elected officials, they are the ones that really are going to make the decisions on what take place in the county, be it mayors, be it city, be it the county council. They'll be the ones that come in, and we are the ones that control the budgets. And so when we was talking about coming together to work collaboratively on different things that work together, I think it's very important that that body meet first and come up with a broad plan that we'll be able to push out to our legislators and everybody else, where we can ask for their support to push it forward to the State House to get more money in. Because I think we have to come up with a plan first before we open the tape up and start inviting everybody else in, and we don't have a plan first.
I agree, Mr. Tom, and that was what that whole meeting was about. You know, like Mr. Tom said, and it was great information, and the other districts are working with their legislators because the legislators don't know what we need or what we want if we don't meet with them and tell them what we need or what we want, or work with them together. So we need to work with our legislators like other districts are. It could benefit this whole county from school district, city side, county side, and in all different entities. I think it'd be a great idea to start off that way.
Well, just for clarity, I want to make sure that I have everyone that, one, county council and city council, all of our mayors, the director over the Economic Development Board, was it something, and I have the Electric Development Board.
Marlboro Development Team.
Okay, and do we want to, is that something that the board, are they elected?
No.
No.
No,
Not
no, ma'am.
related, but the economic director is not either, so you might want to change dear elected officials.
Okay.
The one thing that I would caution, and I'm just standing out here by myself, I guess, but when we invite the county administrator, you've got the county council. So I would, as Mr. Tom said, maybe on the first meeting or so, limit, say, a county administrator plus 2 county councilmen or something. Let him choose which 2 he wants to bring or whatever, so you don't flood yourself with a lot of people, but that's just a suggestion. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with that, Mr. Driggers. Same thing with the city and the county. You know, yeah, I agree.
Well, each town, McCall, Blenheim, Tatum, Clive, they all have a city council or a town council also. So you need to limit the amount that they might show up with also. Yeah, I'm just saying for the first meeting, for the, like you said, the organizational meeting as far as what we're talking about here.
Yes, I mean, that much is so, and we also have to realize too, that once we come together, this will be for you, so that everyone knows, because all of us will be gathered together, and anytime you get the entire boards of anybody together, we're gonna make sure the media and everybody is notified, because you can get caught up in a meeting and man trying to make a motion and try to make things happen when you're not supposed to. So it'll be best that we kind of limit it and make our plans, then have a broader meeting, because on the broader meeting, as we go forward, and hopefully we can have a quarterly or semi-annual meeting to make sure we're on track, and that we can bring in other people in the community that you're gonna need, because when you try to bring the community together and put everybody on the same page, you're gonna need faith-based initiatives, you're gonna need all these people that really running something in the community to come in, because they all stakeholders, and tell us what they're looking for, because a lot of issues we deal with in the county, it's just not on the school board. You know, we try to get a superintendent to come in, and we try to hire a new teacher to come in. We need housing, but we're not in control of housing. So we need to work with the county and the city to make sure we are able to get everybody on the same sheet so that we can move the county forward. And that way we can do away with the blame game.
I'd like to ask a question of you. Who's doing this organizing? You?
We're organizing on behalf of the board.
Okay. I'm going to go out on a limb because you asked. February 12th might be better, gives you a little more time to get it organized.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, like, so I'm going to go out on a limb and just say February 12th might be better for everybody. I don't know.
That's fine. That's the reason I brought this to the board, so, and if it's the pleasure of the board, what I'll do is we'll go back and rework the letter, and I will invite the county administrator and 2 of his council members, the city administrator, 2 of their council members, the mayors in each of our areas, and 2 of those council members, their town councils. And should we leave it there for now, or would you rather for me, because I'm hearing you say, some of you say that we need to start out small.
That would be fine for an organizational meeting, I would think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I would ask for board members to give me some direction on, and you don't have to do it right now, but what you would like for that agenda to look like, so we can pull that together. And also, I'd like to know if you would like to serve refreshments, just so we can be prepared.
Yes.
I definitely think we need to serve refreshments, not elaborate, but I think, because we're gonna be there an hour and a half, may have to take a little break in between to mingle a little bit, get to know each other and have some talk in between, so that would be great. And, as far as the agenda, we can come up with an outline for it, for us agenda, giving everybody a chance to talk around the round table. And if we're gonna be hosting, we can start off and let our legislators start off, we start off, let our legislators hear from all of us, the school district, the county, and the city, and where we want to go, what our needs are, and let our legislators, give them the opportunity to speak and see if we can find some grounds of where we need to start at.
I agree with that. Let us go ahead and move forward then with that, Dr. Tiller, and just let us know.
I will do that, and I just want to check out the 12th, because if we want to,
February 12th?
yes. I was just looking at that date to make sure it was on a Monday or a Friday, because that's when our legislative delegation would be available.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, we'll move on from that now. We'll move to our executive session. We're prepared to go into executive session, discuss personnel matters, hires, resignation, superintendent evaluation tool. If I can get a motion to that effect.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'll make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss personnel matters, hires, resignations, and the superintendent's evaluation tool.
We have a motion on the floor to go into executive session, discuss personnel matters, hires, resignation, and superintendent evaluation tool. Do I have a second?
I second it.
We have a second. Those in favor of going to executive session, let it be known by raising your right hand. Those opposed? We're now in executive session. I entertain a motion that we go back into open session.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we go back into open session.
It's moved that we go back in open session. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is it moving proper second that we go back in open session? All in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Those opposed? We're now in open session. There was no decisions made while we were in executive session.
Mr. Chair, at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we approve one certified election and one certified resignation as presented to us by Superintendent Tiller.
We have one motion on the floor that we accept one resignation and one hire, certified hire, as presented by the superintendent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Well, Ms. Pruitt, second that? Okay, I got you. It's been moved properly second that we approve one new hire and one resignation. Those in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Those opposed? Motion carried. Dr. Tiller?
At this time, I'd like to welcome Dr. Cannon, who's joined us again. She's come home, and we're so happy. She's joining us here at the high school in the area of curriculum. And I'd also like to welcome Mr. David Johnson. And he has assumed the role of high school principal, and we're happy to have them. And we're also happy to have Mr. Kadarian Graham, because Mr. Graham has moved into the 9th grade academy, the administrator in that area. So I just wanted to introduce them and thank them for agreeing to take on the challenge, and welcome you to Marlboro County.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the December 4th regular scheduled meeting at this time. The minutes.
There's a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from December 4th, 2023, regular scheduled meeting. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second that we approve the minutes from our regular scheduled meeting in December. Are there any questions? No questions? Those in favor, let it be known by raising your right hand. Those opposed? Motion carries. Public comments. I don't see that we have anyone here that's going to address the board, so we'll move into board business and actions. Approval of BIS, MEMS, and MCHS turnaround plan. Ms. Battle?
Mr. Coachman, Dr. Tiller, members of the board, good evening. About 2 months ago, the principals and I came before you along with Ms. Primus from Federal Programs, and we talked about the turnaround plans that had to be presented to the board and the community. And at that time, we were letting you know that we were working on those plans. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're asking for approval. You have in your board packet the actual plans that have to be turned into the State Department. So it has a lot of detail in there that we can answer any questions that you might have about it, but I did a brief presentation to try to hit the highlights. So if you'll look here, and the principals are here as well to join in and answer any questions. The reason that Ms. Quick Primus is integral in this process is that we're talking about federal funds and we're talking about state funds as it relates to priority schools. So all of those funds flow through curriculum and through federal programs. For Bennettsville Intermediate School, based on the school report card, the strengths were, or there is a strength that is the school climate. The opportunities for growth, the areas that we needed to focus on for these plans were academic achievement, and that is talking about our math and English language arts scores on the state report card. Student progress talks about the growth of the lowest 20% of the population. All of these come straight from the state report card. Preparing for success, science, grades 4. The performance goals, and these are the same goals that you will see on the actual plan that you have. I just kind of condensed them a little bit. The first goal is to increase high expectations on the Elliott rubric from 1.75 to 2.25. Increase the percentage of fourth grade students scoring met or exceed in ELA from 21.2% to 25%, and fifth grade from 12.7% to 20%. Increase the percentage of fourth grade students scoring met or exceed in math from 12.4% to 18%, and fifth grade from 12.9% to 18%. Increase the percentage of fourth grade students scoring met or exceed in science from 20% to 25%. When you look at these, I know you might say, well, these are low, but where we stand right now, we have low percentages. So these are realistic expectations and movement. This is what the principals, the committees that worked on this included the School Improvement Council, their teachers, representatives, along with the district level team. These are a summary of the items. Personnel at BIS, the personnel is to hire an ELA consultant and a math consultant to help. 2 interventionists, one for math and one for ELA. And on the actual plan, it spells out exactly what these people will be doing in the schools. Materials and programs, and this is also on the plan in about column 3 or so. MTSS 10 success books, visible math learning for mathematics books, and these are all for teachers to do book studies and to do professional development. And then upgrade the STEM lab to include VR, virtual reality headsets, drones, and 3D printers. Professional development, continue to have guidance or guide and coaching sessions, attend local, state, regional, and national content trainings, workshops, and conferences, and we're still talking about math, ELA, science, and social studies, because this is the focus of these funds. Peer observations, mini lessons, and structured literacy for Bennettsville Intermediate School. McCall Elementary School, and Mr. Gregg is here and he can chime in. The strength with school climate, opportunities for growth you'll see are the same, and this is for the elementary portion of the school. Performance goals, increase the percentage of third grade students scoring met or exceed in ELA from 29.3% to 33.4%, fourth grade from 35% to 38%, and fifth grade from 21.9% to 27.5%. In some of your percentages, you might see 2 decimal points. The state uses 1, so that's why on this PowerPoint you see that it has been changed to 1 decimal point to the 10th. Increase the percentage of third grade students scoring met or exceed in math from 34.5% to 37.6%, fourth grade from 25% to 30%, and fifth grade from 12.5% to 20%. Increase the percentage of fourth grade students scoring met or exceed in science from 35% to 38%. Personnel, 2 teachers' aides to assist in grades 3 through 5, and 1 math interventionist is included. These are included in these plans. Materials and programs, calculators, graph paper, backpacks, STEAM books, science labs, simulation software. So for all of our plans, we have, when we're having PLCs or professional development, we included the materials needed to hold those sessions, paper, pencils, calculators, that type stuff. Professional development, you'll see the same. The only thing that's different is that in McCall's plan, they have the Smithsonian Science coming in to do some professional development in science. Before we go there, Mr. Gregg, is there anything else you want to add to this? No. Okay, thank you. Marlboro County High School, the strength is the graduation rate. Okay? That's the percent graduating in 4 years, on-time graduation. Opportunities for growth, these are the areas that we had to include a plan on how we were going to address them. School climate, academic achievement, that's Algebra 1 and English 2, end of course. College and career readiness, these are our students who are prepared to enter college or the workforce, and we get this through WIN testing, SAT, ACT, and ASVAB scores. Preparing for success, that's our science, which is left me out, biology, and U.S. history. The performance goals, increase the percentage of students passing end-of-course exams by 70 and above. We do know that in order to pass the course, to be considered passing for the course, you only need a 60. But on the state report card, they use a score of 70 to determine whether or not we're meeting our goals. So at the school level, we cannot be satisfied with students having a 60. They need to have a 70 or above. Algebra 1, we're going to increase from 9% to 15% of our students passing. Biology from 16% to 20%. English 2 from 44% to 50%. Increase the graduation rate from 69.8% to 80%. Increase the percentage of students who are college and career ready from 45% to at least 50%. Okay? At least 50%. We won't higher, but at least 50% each time. Sustain a safe, healthy, and orderly school evidenced by 80% satisfaction on the State Department of Education climate report. And these are all the areas that we had to address in the turnaround plan. Action items, personnel, 1 attendance clerk whose focus is on senior attendance, 1 assistant principal with a focus on curriculum, and you met Dr. Cannon tonight, 1 ELA and 1 math consultant, 2 interventionists, 2 behavioral support assistants, 1 academic support assistant, 1 parent educator, 1 instructional coach. Now that's a lot of people. All of these people are not paid out of this particular pot of money. Some of them are paid out of other federal and state funds that we get, but in our plan, we plan to utilize and to hire these people in order to help us do the turnaround and make changes. So even though we're not paying for it out of this fund, pot of money, we still have to include it in our plan because we intend to utilize these people, and we put in the plan where we're paying them from. Materials and programs, end of course blitzes. So normally they do that on a Saturday where they're bringing in students and they're doing just mini sessions on passing the end of course, and teachers receive stipends for coming in and working with students. Data analysis support, that's Dr. Eric Lowry. Professional development supplies, those things that I mentioned with the other schools. Credit recovery, using Edgenuity to help our students stay on track. They can recover credit for classes that they did not pass if the score is high enough. The Bulldog Boost program, and I think that description is also in the plan in detail, but I can answer questions about that if you need me to. School supplies for students, okay? Basic supplies, pencils, paper, notebooks. Okay? End of course core subject workbooks, ACT, SAT Saturday boot camps, ACT, SAT prep books for all of our juniors and seniors. We want to make sure that every junior in the school, every senior in the school that is going to take the ACT or the SAT or both, that they have their own individual prep book that they take with them at all times and that they can work in. USA Test Prep, Khan Academy, iExcel software, SMORE software and talking points for communicating with parents and also communicating with students outside of school. Dual enrollment for students that are taking just one course. As it stands right now, if they're taking 2 courses, they're able to use those lottery funds, but sometimes students are only able to take 1 course. So we have money set aside, and we're also working on a plan, Dr. Tiller is with an outside agency that wants to help us with paying for that. And then professional development is the same as what you've seen with the other schools. Questions or comments?
Is there a ACT, SAT prep application that the juniors and seniors can put on their phone rather than a book?
An app?
Yeah, like an app that they could use rather than a book?
We can check into that. I have not seen one, but we can check into it.
I could just see them utilizing
I have
that
a question.
more than a book.
The only thing with that is that when it comes to math, they need paper pencil. They need something that they can see. In the past and everywhere that I've been, that I've worked with math, if students don't have it, paper pencil, it doesn't stick. But we'll look into that app. That's a very good suggestion. Thank you.
Ms. Coach?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair, I have a question, Dr. Ballard. You said increasing the environment level at the high school to at least 80%. Can you tell me what's the environment level at high school now?
I do not have that. Oh, hold on a second.
Okay.
I don't have the percentage, I just have the points that the state awarded, but I can get that information for you.
Okay, I'm just curious. Okay, thank you.
Is there any other question? Well, Dr. Bella, funding is in place.
Yes, sir.
You say funding is in place, and I know you made mention of the small steps that we are taking.
Yes.
But this is like, okay, we're going this way this year, then next year it's a graduate.
Increase.
It's a graduated
Yes,
plan, right?
It's graduated. yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody understood that we wasn't just going for 15% to 17% and be satisfied. No. We're just trying to show a gain. Okay.
We had to look at it, all of the factors, and look at the history and make a good choice. Because number one, if we send something in that's unrealistic, we want to be 50% or more. But if we send that in, they're going to send our plans back.
Okay. Okay, we have the plans here, and we have to approve this plan. So at this time, I entertain a motion that we approve the turnaround plans for these 3 schools.
Mr. Vice Chair, I make a motion that we approve the turnaround plan for the 3 schools designated by Dr. Ballard.
We have a motion on the floor that the turnaround plan be approved for BIS, McCall Elementary Middle School and Marlboro County High School. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
We have a second. It's been moved and properly second that we approve the turnaround plans for Bennettsville Intermediate, McCall Elementary Middle, Marlboro County High School. Are there any more questions? Hearing none. Those in favor, let me know by raising your right hand. Motion carries.
I do have a comment. I saw where you said you were going to try to hire someone to monitor the seniors to make sure they showed up for school. When I was getting into 12th grade, I was ready to get out. I showed up every day. I wanted to get out of there. So, I'm just curious about that one. We'll see how that works out.
I do want to make just one correction. The turnaround plan for McCall is for McCall Elementary. Okay, just the elementary. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Driggers, we went to school now. We got to remember, too, it's been 45, 50 years since we was in school.
It has been a few.
Okay.
Drove my own bus.
So we'll move now to the second reading of policy IKE and IKF. And the reason why I just called
Second reading.
the second reading, and hopefully we can do these and let it be second and final reading for those 2 particular policies before we move to the first
Right.
reading on the other policies.
Vice Chair, I make a motion that we accept the second and final reading for the IK policies, the 2 IK policies on the agenda.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second that we do approve the second and final reading for policy IKE and IKF, that's promotion, retention, and acceleration of students. Those in favor, let me know by raising your right hand. Those opposed? And I want to say this too, so that the public would know, that as a board, we do receive our packet, and these policies are in our packet, and we do read these policies beforehand, so I don't want the public to think we're just coming in here and someone is standing up there giving us a policy and we haven't read it. And I'm gonna step out on the limb, I'm gonna say all of us read it, okay? So now we'll go ahead with the other policies.
Thank you. To Chairman Coachman, Dr. Tiller, members of the board, we are presenting to you tonight for first reading several G policies that are listed on the agenda for your approval for first reading.
Okay, for the first reading of policy GCMD through GDR, I won't be the one to read them all tonight, but I will entertain a motion that we accept the first reading of these policies.
I'll make a motion that we accept the first read.
Discussion, Mr. Vice Chair.
Wait till
I
we,
just want to
wait till we get the second on it, then we'll discuss it, Mr. Chair. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. It's been moved and properly second. Now discussion, Mr. Chair.
Okay. This discussion that I will have on this, let me know, I'm asking questions. These are basically just the small updates on these policies, right?
That is correct, yes, sir, based on recommendations from the South Carolina School Board Association.
Policies that we already have in place and that they're updates. That's the only thing I want to know.
Yes, sir.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that out, Mr. Coachman. No other questions and comments? Those all in favor of approving the first reading of policy GCMD through policy GDR, let it be known by raising your right hand. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move to the superintendent's report.
Mr. Benjamin will share our preliminary audit, the results.
Good evening, Board. Mr. Coachman, Dr. Tiller, members of the board. We have Mr. Brian Nicholson, if I'm correct. He will be presenting the preliminary audit for Marlboro County School District.
Good evening, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Good evening, Board. Good evening, Board Chair, Vice Chair, Superintendent Tiller. My name is Brian Nicholson. I'm with Malden and Jenkins, and I've got a brief PowerPoint. Looks like y'all got it up. And so as I go through this, I'm just going to say, and on the next slide, and that's kind of when y'all can turn to the next slide. So if you do want to go to the next slide, we can kind of go over a brief meeting agenda. Have y'all flipped to the next slide? I'm not seeing it refresh here.
1 second, it wasn't on. There you go.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
We were attempting to, now we got it.
Okay, so just a brief agenda here. I'll go over the engagement team, some preliminary results of the 2023 audit. We'll go over some numbers, which I know everybody's kind of curious to see, and then any comments, recommendations, and we'll open it up for any questions at the end. So on the next slide, you'll see our engagement team. So just to reintroduce myself, my name is Brian Nicholson with Malden & Jenkins. I was the director for Marlboro's June 2023 financial and compliance audit. Mr. Tim Lyons will be the quality control reviewer. And what that means is once we have finished we bring an outside partner to do what we call our quality control review, just to make sure we have everything we need to issue to render the appropriate opinions. On the next slide, you will see some preliminary results of the 2023 audit. We conducted our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. Our objective was to provide reasonable, not absolute assurance that the basic financial statements are free from material misstatement. These financial statements are the responsibility of the district management. And then if you see the report on 2023 basic financial statements, that little bullet there, we do anticipate issuing a clean or unmodified opinion, which is the best you can do. And what that means is that the financial statements do present fairly in all material respects. We will also issue our report on internal controls over financial reporting and on compliance. We did have one material weakness as it relates to internal controls, and I have a slide a little bit later on that we can get into more details with. I will say that the district had 2 findings last year. That has been reduced to 1. There was a internal control finding in fiscal year 2022 and a federal award finding in fiscal year 22. I'm happy to say that federal award finding has been since resolved and removed and will not be included in the 2023 report. On the next slide, you'll see we will also issue our single audit report, which is required by uniform guidance. And what that means is whenever an entity like the school district expends over $750,000 in federal expenditures, a single audit is triggered. This year, the school district did not qualify as a low-risk auditee, and that is due to last year's findings. You essentially have to have 2 years of no findings to be considered a low-risk auditee. And due to that, we were required to audit approximately 40% of the district CFA, the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. But due to the programs that we had to audit this year, we actually tested about 80% of the entire federal expenditures. This year we tested the special education IDEA cluster, which was approximately 1.3 million in total expenditures. We also tested the Education and Stabilization Fund, or commonly referred to as ESSER. That was approximately 10.1 million in total expenditures. And then we also tested the school nutrition cluster, which was about 2.9 million. We anticipate no findings as it relates to the single audits. Like I said in the previous slide, the last year's finding for federal awards has since been resolved and removed. On the next slide, these are kind of our required communications. I'm not going to go over all of these bullet points. I'm going to hit some of the highlights. The significant accounting policies used by the district are described in Note 1 to the financial statements. This year, GASB issued statement number 96 for subscription-based IT arrangements, or commonly referred to as SABITAs. It had no material impact on the district's financial statements. So if you're one of those that does a comparison between last year and this year, you're not going to really find a significant change related to that standard. The district also uses various estimates as part of its financial reporting process, including the allowance for uncollectible accounts and the useful lives for capital assets and depreciation. We deemed those estimates reasonable as it relates to the financial statements. And on this next slide, a couple things I want to highlight here is our relationship with management. We did receive full cooperation from the district management and staff. There were no disagreements with management on any accounting issues or financial reporting matters. Once we do issue the final audit, which we do anticipate getting done, I would say probably by the end of the next week, early next week, we will request certain written representations that we will need to get from management as well. On the next slide, this is kind of the last of our required communications. And the biggest thing I really want to point out here is auditor independence. Our professional standards require us to be independent of the district, and we are. We had no outside consulting fees or any fees that related outside of the audit process that would impair our independence. The next slide is what we call the governmental balance sheet. And so there's a couple of things I want to point out here. Okay. So the first thing I want to point out is unassigned fund balance in the general fund was approximately 13.5 million. That is approximately 4 months worth of expenditures in the general fund, and the state requires approximately 1 month of expenditures. So the district is well in compliance with that state minimum fund balance for unassigned fund balance in the general fund. The next thing that I would also like to point out, if you notice that second to last column to the right, the food service fund. So management elected to report the food service fund as a governmental fund. I have 2 slides later that will kind of recap that decision, but essentially it's due to the revenues of that fund itself. Over 90% of the revenues are government related. That's either federal awards or state awards. And due to the nature of that fund, it is more appropriate to show that fund as a governmental fund rather than a proprietary or business type fund, due to most of, or very little of the revenues coming for charges for services. And on the next slide is the governmental income statement. And if you look at the food service fund, you will notice local revenues are approximately 80,000 for the food service fund, and the other 3.06 million is federal revenues. And over the past 5 years, in 2022, federal revenues approximated 93% of all revenues. 2021 was 92%, 2020 was 92%, and 2019 was 96%. So you can see the trend over the past 5 years that the food service fund is more appropriately shown as a governmental type fund. The last thing I want to show on this slide is ending fund balance of 13.5. You'll notice the general fund had 35.4 million in total revenues with total expenditures of approximately 39.8. That's an excess of 4.3 million of revenues under expenditures, and then it's offset by net transfers of 3 million for a total decrease in fund balance of 1.2 million in the general fund. You still do have that 13.5 million in fund balance, and like I said previously, the district does have 4 months worth of expenditures in unassigned fund balance in the general fund. These next 2 slides is the change in reporting entity. That's essentially what it is when the food service fund is moved from a proprietary type fund and then restated as a governmental fund. I'm not going to read this whole slide, but I did want y'all to have access to it. It is more appropriately shown on the next slide. And if you go to the next slide, you will see the net effect. Governmental activities net position, as previously reported, was 36,003,393. And then when we reclass the food service fund to governmental fund at the entity-wide level, it is increased to 32 million, or a deficit of 32,645,591. That is at the government-wide level. So you will see that change on the statement of net position of the financial statements. And then below that, you have the total governmental fund balance as previously reported of 31,830,798. When you bring in the restated balance for the food service fund, that's increased to 34,651,167. The next slide is our audit findings for fiscal year 2023. So similar to last year, we had a financial closeout and reporting finding. This is strictly due to the district not having an active CFO or finance director during the fiscal year. And what happened with that is it ultimately delayed the audit process, or it ultimately delayed the district in getting closed out and ready for the audit, which then delayed the audit process, and which is why the school district has yet to issue their financial statements. Now, I will say this is not a result of Ms. Jeanette coming in and helping. She essentially got everything closed out for us so that we could conduct the audit in an appropriate manner and keep our independence from being impaired. We do anticipate this finding going away with Mr. Benjamin stepping into that role full-time as of now, and with Melanie helping him kind of go through the process and making sure those internal control processes and procedures are implemented and then maintained, like I said, we do not anticipate this finding sticking around for fiscal year '24, but due to the nature of the school district and when we receive the financial information and just the delay in that process, we did have to report a finding in fiscal year 2023. Now, however, all of the issues that the district had, and we had reclasses to cash, receivables, inventory, revenues, expenses, all of that is a result of that absent position. So we felt it was appropriate to just have the one finding rather than multiple findings with multiple audit areas. So when we do issue the final financial statements, you will see just this one finding, a little more expanded on, rather than multiple findings. So I did want to make that clear. On the next slide, and these last few are pretty quick. We've got some comments and other matters, particularly some new GASBs to be looking out for. GASB Statement 101, compensated absences, and then some other matters currently being discussed by GASB. And then on the second to last slide, you will notice that we do offer free client CPE. It is more financial based, but it is offered to board members, council members, pretty much anybody at the district. And we have spoken with district management, and they are planning to take advantage of this free client CPE. It's done quarterly, so if there's anybody that would like to attend, please not hesitate to reach out to me or Mr. Benjamin so that we can get everybody signed up. And then this last slide is just our conclusion. Before I open it up for any comments or any questions, I did want to thank the district, particularly Ms. Jeanette for helping, and the finance department, LaTanya as well, for helping get the district where they are so that we can conduct the audit and get it issued in a timely manner. Like I said, we do anticipate being wrapped up here in the next day or so with a final report issued hopefully by Friday is our goal at this point. With that being said, I will open up for any comments, any questions.
Okay, do anyone have any questions for our auditor?
I just have one, Mr. Tom. Jinx, appreciate y'all doing the audit and taking care of everything. So basically what you're expecting that we're gonna have a pretty clean audit and its finding once you finalize it by the end of the week?
Yes, sir. So as of now, I would say we are about 95% done with our internal reviews. Once we are done with that, we will send it off to the quality control review. But as of now, we do not have any federal findings. We have the one audit finding, which I just discussed. But the issues, we do anticipate issuing a clean or a modified opinion, which is the best the district can do. That is the highest level of assurance that we can provide.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's why I asked the question. Yeah, that's right. So we thank you so much. I'd like to thank the finance team for doing a great job in getting us there for the year of 2023. Great job, Ms. Jeanette, and your entire financial team, Dr. Tiller.
All right, well, thank you. Mr. Benjamin?
All right.
We'll move to.
All right. Well, thank you all.
Thank you,
All right,
Mr.
thank you. Mr. Benjamin, we'll move now to the financial report as of December the 31st, 2023.
Yes, sir. You all should have received those Friday, this past week. As you can see, the revenue report and as well as the expenditure report, as it indicates at the very top, the ideal percentage, it should be at 50%, and we are at 53%, so we are in good standing. Any questions?
And I think this is probably for the finance and for Dr. Tiller, perhaps if we could, because I noticed when I want to look at the finance report, and you go line item, and I'm looking at the part where it says Board of Ed. Our legal fees are included in Board of Ed.
Not sure. I would have to check. I would have to check.
Well, if you could, find that out for us, and because we want to know what our legal expenses were for the
Yes, sir.
year, so that we can keep on top of that.
Yes, sir.
And I think that'll be all. Thank you, Mr. Benjamin.
No problem. Thank you.
Well, I think we're getting closer and closer to the end.
I'm ready if you're ready.
And I think that take care of everything on the agenda, unless we need to go back to executive session. You don't think so, right?
I don't think so, but before I do my last number here, I think I speak for the board. We thank you very much for all the presentations that you gave us, all the gifts, and we do appreciate you appreciating us. Thank you very much.
Very well said, Mr. Driggins. Mr. Coachman, do you have any final words for the board?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Vice Chair. I appreciate you guys taking over and handling business tonight. I should be back with you next month. I'm a little bit under the weather. I should be good to go in the next couple of days, and appreciate all the prayers and the phone calls and everything. And I'll see you guys soon. With that being said, Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this meeting.
All
I'm
right.
gonna second that,
Motion is
board.
on the floor and second that we adjourn. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.